Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So I hope you all are doing good. In the last video I explained cell, the basic unit of life, right? And then we have discussed some experiments too. Whereas in this video we are going to see the remaining part of cell, the basic unit of life. And today in this class we are going to see from nucleus, right? So if you see a cell, inside the cell you will find a dense body which is very dark in color, right? So that dense body is called as nucleus. And who discovered this nucleus for the first time, or who identified, who observed this nucleus? Let us see in this class. Nucleus, it is a controlling unit of the cell, the controlling unit of human body. As we have brain in our skull, in the same way each and every cell contain a controlling unit, and that controlling unit is called as nucleus. Okay, so the controlling unit of a cell is nucleus. Next, it was first observed by Robert Brown. Please don't forget this name, Robert Brown. In the earlier class when I am telling about cell is first discovered by Robert Hooke. There the person name is Robert Hooke, right? It is Robert Hooke, but here if you observe it is Robert Brown. Okay, so don't forget Robert Brown, who identified, who observed nucleus for the first time, whereas Robert Hooke, he discovered the cell for the first time. Okay, he discovered the cell. There is a great difference between Robert Hooke and Robert Brown. First there will be Robert Hooke, later it is followed by Robert Brown, who identified or observed nucleus. Before identification of nucleus by Robert Brown, many scientists like Felice Fontana and few other scientists saw nucleus in the epithelial cell. What is the meaning of epithelial cell? Now it is our outermost layer of our skin, right? Outermost layer of our body. So this outermost layer contain epithelial cell. The outermost cells are called as epithelial cells. So here Felice Fontana and a few other saw nucleus in epithelial cells. Okay, but even though they observed nucleus, but the contribution, most of the contribution goes to Robert Brown. Okay, so you have to consider only Robert Brown is the person who first identified or observed nucleus. Okay, next, in animal cell. In the 18th century, Robert Brown observed in different kinds of cells, he observed different kinds of cells, and in the different kinds of cells he observed nucleus. Next, and recognized nucleus as integral part of the cell. Where you find nucleus, it is not outside the cell, it is inside the cell. So it is an integral part of the cell. Okay, okay children, up to here is it clear? So if the question, who identified cell for the first time, it's who identified cell for the first time, it's Antonio and Leeuwenhoek. Who discovered cell? Robert Hooke. And then coming to who observed nucleus for the first time, it is Robert Brown. These three names usually they will make some confusion, but don't be confused here. Okay, so next, Robert Brown observed epidermis of orchid leaf and identified an opaque circular dark part and called it as nucleus. So here there is a word epidermis. Epidermis is a layer or a cells, a group of cells. These epidermis is seen in plant cells. Okay, so once if you see here, epithelial cells are observed in animal cell, but whereas in the case of epidermis, cells are seen in plant cell. Okay, epi is nothing but outside. Okay, epi is nothing but outermost layer, and that outermost layer, if it is seen in animal, it is called as epithelial, and if it is seen in plant, it is called as epidermis, epidermal cells. Okay, don't be get confused here. Next, Robert Brown, what he saw? He observed epidermis of an orchid leaf, and then he saw some dense particle, opaque particle, and he called that particle as nucleus. He named that particle, dense particle, as nucleus. Okay, so this is the structure of epidermis of orchid leaf. So here you can see these red part are called as cells. Okay, these red parts are cells, and each cell contain a nucleus here, and here I have mentioned some green color part. This green color part are nothing but stomata. stomata is a organ which is seen only in plant, not in animal. Okay, so what is the function of stomata mean? It is useful for transpiration. What is the meaning of transpiration? Exchange of gaseous is called transpiration. Up to here it's more than enough. Then when we are discussing in the earlier classes, when we are discussing in other when we are discussing about detailed structure of stomata, then I will explain what the stomata is, what is a major function of stomata is. Okay, now if you see epidermis of orchid leaf. Okay, now if you see, these are the cells. Next, each cell contain a nucleus. In the middle there will be a jelly part, and that jelly part is called as cytoplasm. And each plant cell is covered by a outermost layer called cell wall, and beneath the outermost layer is a cell membrane. We will find two layers, Nana, and one is cell wall. It will be outside the cell wall, it is outside the cell, whereas beneath the cell wall is cell membrane. Don't forget, it is a distinguished feature between a plant and animal cell. What is that? Plant cell contain an extra layer, and that is cell wall. It gives a rigidity and protection for the cell. Next, okay, here you can see cell wall, and this green color part which I have mentioned here, all these are stomata, which is useful for transpiration or exchange of gases. Nucleus contain genetic material. What do nucleus contain? Nucleus contain genetic material. Genetic material is nothing but DNA, RNA. Okay, DNA, RNA and protein. These genetic materials are transferred from parents to offspring. Okay, these genetic materials are transferred from parents to offspring during cell division. In my last class, I have explained about cell division also, how the cell divides into two, right? So at that time I have explained that cell will be dividing into two, and that two again it will be going on dividing, and that process will be continued, and that process is called as cell division, as I already explained about this process. So during this process, the nucleus which is present inside the cell, it starts dividing. Okay, what do nucleus contain? Nucleus contain genetic material. Genetic materials are nothing but DNA, RNA and protein. These will be going on dividing. After the division of nucleus, the complete cells get divided. Okay, so in this way, the single cell, it will be completely resemblance to the daughter cells after cell division. Okay, so the reason behind that is nucleus. Okay, so next activity which is given in the textbook, and that is observation of nucleus in onion peel and cheek cells. So here already we have performed this activity in the last class also. I have explained, whereas once again to observe nucleus, this specially they have given this activity. So only the difference between that activity and this activity here is, in the last class we have saw only cell. We saw only cell, but whereas here there will be something, a stain will be added to it, like dye, a coloring agent will be added to observe a dense particle, that is nucleus. Okay, so observing of nucleus in the onion peel and chick cell, here we are specifying about nucleus. We want to observe nucleus, not cell. Okay, so first what you have to do, you have to select any onion. You select the onion bulb and then take a thin layer of it. From the thin layer, if you try to break it, then you will see a thin transparent membrane which is attached to the inner part of the cell, to the inner part of the onion. You try to separate that delicate part, put it on the slide, add a drop of water and a drop of safranin or methylene green. What is that? Safranin. You have to use a stain called safranin or methylene blue or methyl blue. Okay, methylene blue. So when you add, if you add these two, or if these two are not available, you can even use red ink. You can even use red ink. If you use any of the dye and then you add a drop of these dyes on the specimen, whatever you want to observe, after a 5 to 10 minutes you remove the extra stain from it, okay, with the help of a filter paper, and then try to observe this specimen which is dyed, which is colored under a microscope. Then you will observe the structure will be like this. Okay, so it will be like this. Similarly, the rectangular cells, and each cell contain a nucleus in the middle, or centrally located or peripherally. Okay, if it is a plant cell, mostly nucleus is located peripherally, not central. But for our idea, each cell contains nucleus, and then it is a onion peel, mean it is a plant cell, so it is covered by a layer called cell wall, and next to the cell wall will be cell membrane. So here it is a nucleus and this is a cell. Here is a cell wall, and next to the cell wall, this layer, dotted lines which I have represented, that is cell membrane. Okay, so the jelly part which is present inside this cell, if you see this complete cell, this only this part, then this layer, this complete part, this jelly like substance is called as cytoplasm. What it is called? Cytoplasm. Okay, we will discuss about all the cell organelles later, but whereas up to your knowledge you must have a awareness that each cell contains cell wall, cell contains cell membrane, inside the cell it is a jelly like particle called cytoplasm, and there is a centrally located nucleus, a dense body nucleus. Okay, up to here it's more than enough for cell, the basic unit of life. Children, if you observe, the second activity which is given after onion peel is cheek cell. Cheek cell, the same activity we will do, but in the last activity we didn't use any staining agent, right? Staining agent is nothing but using some colors. Okay, these all the cells are very transparent, they don't have a proper color, but whereas if you use some color, then those will take that color, the cells will take that color, and that organelle will be seen in such color. It will be easy for us to identify. That's it. So for that reason, here what you have to do, same procedure. First you clean your mouth cleanly, and then take a blunt ended, not a sharp one, blunt ended ice cream spoon or spatula, whatever which is available to you, and then scratch the inner part of your cheek, inner part. Next, take that specimen which you have collected, put it on the slide and add saffronin or methylene blue which is available to you. So you can take it and then add a drop of saffronin which will be in pink color, methylene blue which will be in blue color. You take that, add a drop of it. After some time you clean the excess amount of stain or color by using a filter paper. Okay, so this is a procedure, and directly focus under microscope. Then you will observe the cells are like this. The cells are like this. So if you observe the same thing, but only the difference is the shape. Shape is different. Here you can see the rectangular cells, but whereas here you can find the cells are irregular in shape. Okay, there will be no particular shape for it, irregular. But the similarity is the cell contain nucleus in it. Okay, so imagine that this is cell, this cell contain nucleus, and there is a jelly like particle which is surrounding to the nucleus or inside the nucleus, and we call that as cytoplasm. Here you find this part is called as cytoplasm, and here it is cheek cell, mean it comes under animal cell. So animal cell mean it must have cell membrane but no cell wall, mean here it must be clear for you that cell wall is completely absent in animal cell. It have, I mean all the cells are covered by a layer called cell membrane in the case of animal cell, and whereas in the case of plant cell it cannot move. Yeah, it is non-motile organism, it cannot move. So that's the reason it have an extra layer protecting, and that is cell membrane and cell wall. Okay, so this is something about the observation of nucleus in onion peel and cheek cell. Okay, so now there is a question, what are the similarities and what are the dissimilarities between these two? Take a tabular form, serial number, plant cell and animal cell. Okay, in the plant cell the cells are rectangular in shape, in the animal cell the cells are in irregular shaped. Okay, first difference. Second thing is, here the outermost layer is cell wall, and here the outermost layer is cell membrane but no cell wall. Okay, and whereas beneath the cell wall we will see cell membrane in the case of plant cell, here directly we will see only one membrane, that is cell membrane. Okay, next to the cell membrane there will be a jelly like particle called cytoplasm. It is seen even in plant and animal cell. Next to that we will see some of the cell organelles, and in the middle you will find a nucleus which is located. It is a dense particle and plays a prominent role controlling unit of even plant or animal cell. Okay, So this is something about differences between plant and animal cell. See the cell by taking an example of plant cell, which is easy to understand. Okay, so imagine that this is a plant cell, it is hexagonal in shape. Okay, so here in the plant cell, in the middle we find nucleus. This nucleus, just now I said that nucleus contains genetic material. Genetic material is nothing but DNA, RNA and protein. Okay, those are completely coiled in nature, those are completely packed inside the nucleus. Okay, so this is nucleus, and inside the nucleus we find a genetic material. Okay, so in the case of plant cell, there is an another layer surrounding to the nucleus, and that is called as nuclear membrane. What it is? Nuclear membrane. Okay, so inside here if you see plant cell, cell is covered by a layer called cell membrane, whereas in the case of nucleus is covered by an extra membrane, and it is called as nuclear membrane, which will be protecting nucleus, right? So that's it. Next, nucleus. Nucleus contains genetic material, and nucleus is surrounded by a layer, and it is called as nuclear membrane. Okay, here if you see external part of the cell, cell wall, outer layer of the plant cell is cell wall, beneath the cell wall you find cell membrane. Okay, so next to that cell membrane there will be a jelly like particle for easy movement of all the cell organelles which are present inside the cell, and that jelly like particle, it will be like a kisan jelly will be, no? So in the same way our cytoplasm will be in the form of jelly like structure, and that is called as cytoplasm. That is called as cytoplasm. Next, there are some bean shaped structures, some rounded structures. Okay, so that bean shaped structures are called as mitochondria. So in a simple way you have to remember that mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. Okay, next chloroplast, this green part is called as chloroplast. Here the food is prepared. Here photosynthesis process takes place. Whereas one more organelle, that is stomata. Stomata is nothing but it will be like this. Yeah, it is like some pore like structure, and that pore is guarded by two guard cells. Okay, so those guard cells, what they will do, they get opened and those get closed. So when it is opened, the extra amount of water or exchange of gases takes place. Carbon dioxide, which is required for the plant, it comes inside when stomata opens. Okay, so it is a function. We will discuss about this stomata clearly in the upcoming classes. Okay, so whereas cell organelle, for an clear idea that it contains cell wall, it gives protection and gives a shape for a plant cell. It gives a rigidity for the plant cell. Okay, this plant cell, this cell wall is completely absent in animal cell. Okay, next to that, even if you take an example of bacteria, bacteria is a microorganism, it is not a plant, but even bacteria contains cell wall, but this cell wall is absent in animal. Okay, next to that is cell membrane. Cell membrane is seen in almost all the cells. The cell membrane is a second layer in plant cell, but whereas in the case of animal cell, this cell membrane is a first layer. Okay, so this cell membrane, what is the function of cell membrane now? It will be protecting the cell, it will be acting as an selectively permeable membrane. Selectively permeable membrane is nothing but it will be sending the material inside and it will be exiting or removing the waste material out from the cell, and that is cell membrane. If any toxics are accumulated or if any microorganisms are accumulated, those will be removed or eliminated out, thrown out from the cell by cell membrane. Next to that is, just now I said, it is cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is nothing but it is jelly like substance. So that is useful for the easy movement of all the cell organelles inside the cell. Next to that is nucleus. Nucleus, already I said that nucleus plays a prominent role inside the cell. Almost all the cells contain, either it may be in the form of definite nucleus or it may be in the form of incomplete nucleus, indefinite nucleus. Nucleus contains genetic material. Next to that it is stomata. Stomata helpful in transpiration.